I received the following letter. I get along pretty well with most people, but my daughter Diane is impossible. It's like she works at making things difficult for me. The other day she came over with her 2 children, and she'd hardly gotten in the door before she started in on me. I'd done some planting in the front yard, and she had something critical to say about all of it. Some of the plants were in too much sun, some in too much shade, stuff like that. Then my dog jumped up on the kids, which he usually does, and knocked one of them over. She had a fit about that and blamed me. I didn't jump on the kids, the dogs did. So I said, Diane, when you come here and criticize me and blame me for the things that aren't my fault, like the dogs, it hurts my feelings. I wish you wouldn't do that. I really said it nicely, but then she got mad at me and sulked for the rest of the time they were here. Something like this happens almost every time she comes, and I don't know what to do about it. She's become so angry and disrespectful, and I'm tired of it. End quote. You're frustrated by Diane's behavior for 2 reasons. First, you don't understand her, and second, you want her behavior to be different than it is. Let's begin with explaining her behavior. She's attacking you and acting like a victim. When you can remember that people use getting and protecting behaviors only because they're drowning, because they're empty and afraid as a result of not having enough real love in their lives, you can begin to understand your daughter. Diane is barely coping with the pain of feeling alone and helpless. And one way she can reduce those unpleasant feelings is to criticize and control the people around her. That's what she's doing with you. On the occasions when she criticizes you, blames you, and otherwise attacks you, she gets a sense of power, which reduces her sense of helplessness. Often she justifies her behavior by pointing out what you've done to hurt her. In other words, she acts like a victim. In her mind, once she has convicted you of a crime, like the dog jumping on her children, for example, as well as the innumerable mistakes you made, real and imagined, when she was a child, she has every right in the world to retaliate and get you back. There is nothing quite so fearsome as a victim armed with righteous indignation. Remember that when we use getting and protecting behaviors in a given moment, we are responding mostly to a lifetime of not feeling loved. Our response has little to do with the individual person or circumstance facing us in that moment. If we consistently received real love as children from parents and others, we have the greatest treasure of all. We become whole and complete, and in that condition, we simply have no need to use getting and protecting behaviors, even when the people around us behave badly. If we don't get enough real love as children, however, which is the case with the vast majority of us, we tend to spend the rest of our lives empty and afraid. And in that condition, we tend to use getting and protecting behaviors most of the time, even in response to minor events that would be insignificant to someone who felt sufficiently loved. That's what Diane is doing, and we'll talk more about that in our next session.